What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Classic Octane. I am Taylor. So we are back working on the Drift Corvette today. Couple of things I need to do to the car before we can take it out for its first official test drive, which will happen, fingers crossed, in this video. So I need to go ahead and throw on our new rear tires that I got mounted up yesterday so the car can at least move around the driveway. And then I'm going to play a little bit of musical cars, pull the Camaro out and pull the Corvette in so that I can work on the ride height as well as trying to get our rear alignment set up. I know that this right rear wheel is super towed in, so I want to go ahead and get all that sorted so that we can actually take this thing out on the road. Wheels and tires are on. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a cold start, and this is actually like a proper cold start for Texas. It's dropped down below freezing the last couple of nights, and it's probably been, I don't know, 2 weeks since I started the car, so let's see how it does. I know for a fact the battery's dead. Now we'll see how the Camaro cold starts. It's been probably at least a month since I started this one. Let's see what the coolant temp is. 50 degrees. Got the car pulled in and got my new toe plates set up. So real quick explanation of how these work. It's basically just a flat piece of metal that kind of sits square up against the tire. It has little notches in the bottom, matching one on this side. So you put in a tape measure on each side. When you pull it tight, you can get a measurement. So in my case, we're getting right at 74 inches on the front, 74 3/4 inches on the rear. So that tells me that the front of our wheels are 3/4 of an inch closer together, meaning they are towed in. 3/4 of an inch is way too much toe in. I'm gonna be shooting for somewhere closer to about 1/8 inch. The only issue that I've found with these toe plates so far is, in theory, this doesn't tell me that the wheels are, you know, kind of in line with the center line of the car. It just tells me that they are, you know, parallel or close to parallel with each other, which means they could both be kind of tilted. You know, say they're both tilted 1/4 inch towards the left, then they could still measure, you know, parallel or zero toe, but they could both be equally off and the car could kind of like crab walk down the road. So that's where like a proper machine alignment is definitely something that's in this car's future. This is just going to get us somewhat down the road and not create too crazy of tire wear. And that's all we're really worried about right now. So I'm also going to go off of the assumption that this left side is good and is kind of set where we want it to be. And this right side, because this is where we replace that tie rod end, is the side that needs to be adjusted fully. So again, that could be the incorrect assumption, but because this side was damaged and the other side wasn't, I don't think that's too crazy to think. Figured I'd show you guys under the car the bar that I'm talking about. It's this one right in the center right here. Goes right, and it goes right into the knuckle on that side. So I have loosened up the lock nut right in the center of where my light is. Now I can just put a 13-inch box wrench on the center of that and turn it in or out. I actually don't even know 100% which way I need to turn it yet, so I'm just going to turn it, you know, a turn or two and kind of see how our adjustment goes, and then see if I was going the right direction or not. But that's all I'm doing, is kind of messing with that until we hit that 1/8 inch toe in mark. And just like that, about a minute of adjusting, we are good to go. So I'm getting right at 74 3/8 in the front and right at 74 1/2 in the back. So we are an 1/8 inch, you know, less distance on the front, just like I explained. Also, much better overall. You know, if you remember from my last video, we looked down at the wheel like this and it was, you know, way kind of cocked out, which with 3/4 of an inch of toe in, that's not crazy surprising. So that looks pretty darn good. I'm happy with that. Okay, we're all loaded up. I brought my tools, my fire extinguisher, jump box, everything I could think of for a maiden voyage. So pulling this thing out of the driveway and back in is the most I've driven it. So let's see how the first 200 yards go. Stiff aftermarket clutch in it. Okay. Second gear works. I mentioned this, but I still technically only have one muffler, so we'll need to look into that pretty soon. And then obviously with the rear tub not being 100% sealed, you know, that's a bit of an issue. I did check the front toe with the toe plates, and it was dead nuts, 0 toe, which is what I want in the front. No weird noises. 4th gear. Fifth gear is good. Let's check all our gauges. Oil pressure is 53, oil temp 160, coolant temp 160, battery 14. idea so far, but I'm gonna head back towards my house just so I'm not too far away, and then we'll mess around a little bit more and see if we can figure out what the deal is. So I'm not sure if you guys could hear me when I was driving, so I figured I'd explain it again real quick, but it's developed this noise from around the gear shift area when I am just starting off, and to me it feels like clutch slip, but I'm curious what you guys think. So I'll go in reverse. If I go really slow, I'm backing up and everything's just fine. If I go a little bit faster, you guys hear that? It doesn't want to go forward too. Do it in reverse again. You guys hear that noise? It does it in forward and reverse, so I don't think it's a transmission issue. It feels like a clutch slip problem. So I need to do a little bit of research now and see if that could be caused by, the worst case scenario is like a bad rear main seal is getting oil on the flywheel and that's causing it to slip. That wouldn't really surprise me all that much in this car, just because there does seem to be a good amount of oil leaks. Best case scenario is I don't know what a good scenario would be. I mean, I don't think it's just normal for this clutch, because I've never, felt a clutch that does that, especially one that's this heavy of a pedal input. It should be a pretty aggressive clutch. It should be more like an on-off switch, not slipping at all. So I'm gonna do a little bit of research and see what I can find. So I put the car up on the ramps so I could get under here and get a better look at everything. Give me a second while I shuffle under. And under here, it's pretty much all bad news bears. So can you see how much oil? The clutch is directly in there. That's the torque tube. What normally would be a bell housing. The entire oil pan is coated. The whole front cradle is literally actively dripping with oil. Everything is coated, which is how you say, less than ideal. So from the looks of the bottom side, we have oil all the way up to the very front of the engine. So that's obviously not caused by just a rear main seal. I'll show you on this LS right here. What I believe my culprit probably is this front timing cover gasket, potentially in combination with the kind of O-ring seal of the harmonic balancer. Maybe even our oil pan gasket, but I do have a good amount of oil up the block a little bit, so I know it's not just an oil pan gasket. Kind of a combination of those. I don't think there's anywhere higher up here that would cause that much oil to come out, so I'm guessing it's our timing cover gasket. If it was just that, I would be pretty excited because you can replace that with the engine in the car, no problem. People do cams and everything with the engines in the car, but because of our clutch slipping, I have a really hard time not thinking that clutch slipping is because of the amount of oil that's back there. I don't think that oil got there just from the timing cover. My gut is that it probably needs a rear main seal. For those of you who don't remember, this engine is a 408 cubic inch LS. To get a 408, you have to start with a truck motor, probably a 6-liter. And most of those 6 liters get a ton of miles put on them. So there's a good chance that this motor has an absolute monumental amount of miles, which means a rear main seal or something like that going bad isn't too crazy out of the question. So now I have to decide what I want to do, and I think what makes the most sense is for me to end up pulling this engine out of the car. So overall, not an ideal first test drive, but also really not that bad. If you think about it, I mean, the rest of the car felt really, really good. The brakes feel great, the steering feels good, the shifting of the transmission is nice and smooth, the synchros feel good. Everything else feels nice and tight, which is good because I didn't know how many unforeseen issues we were going to have. So a good amount of oil leaks is a solvable problem. I mean, that is not terrible. I had actually thought about, before I even realized how bad the oil leaks were, I thought about pulling the engine just to give it a once over, because this engine was built by somebody else, in their garage. I don't know their skill level. I thought about just pulling the engine to double check everything, because I want this to be a reliable kind of competition car. So this is just one more reason to do that. So I think that's what we're gonna go ahead and do, is schedule some time on the calendar to pull the engine out, give it a complete once over. I've never pulled the engine out of a Corvette before, but I bet I can do it in a single day. I really don't think it's all that bad. So that's gonna be the plan. I'm gonna go ahead and order probably a full gasket kit for the engine, just to be sure that we go through everything while it's out. And then we can also go through and check like the specs of our cam, make sure it has good valve springs, double check the stroker kit. Maybe we can get in there, pull the oil pan off, check the rods. Maybe there's some identifiers on there, and just kind of verify what this engine actually has in it, just so we know for the future. So again, not the best first test drive, but I've been on worse. Well, that's gonna do it for this one, guys. I guess it's time for me to go research how to pull an engine out of a C5 Corvette. I hope you guys come along for the ride. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you guys in the next one.